I've got a lot to ask you about, but I do want to pick up on something Nikki Haley continues to raise, and this is this idea of a mental acuity test for anyone over 75. You're 72 years old. If you win the presidency, you'd be right in that range. What do you think of her concept? Do you think that's appropriate?
Well, there's a mental acuity test every time you go to Iowa and there's a town hall meeting with the questions from the voters. They do a pretty good job of assessing those issues. As a practical matter, you want a president to be in good health and in charge of, the country in a good mental state. But the tests are not constitutional. And so it's really something that's a throwaway line that catches people's attention. But the voters, I have a lot of confidence in to make the right decisions. If I get in the race, well, I'm in the race. But if I'm the nominee of the party and you've got Joe Biden there, I'll be the youngest person in the race.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you about a number of things in terms of who else is in this race. You have already called on Donald Trump to drop out. You've been saying that for some time now. He's not taking your advice. And now we have these new charges on classified documents. Do you think he should be pardoned for the good of the country, as Ambassador Haley suggested?
No. First of all, that should not be any discussion during a presidential campaign. You don't put pardons out there to garner votes. That is premature. Obviously, if there's a conviction...
You think that's what she's doing?
Well, I think that anybody who promises pardons during a presidential campaign is not serving our system of justice well, and it's inappropriate.
You are unique as a Republican candidate because while many of the Republicans on the trail are using this phrase weaponization of the justice system, you are avoiding that. And in fact, you have put forward a plan to overhaul federal law enforcement agencies. The Washington Post editorial board came close to endorsing it just a few days ago, saying the idea should be taken seriously. Explain this approach.
Well, our justice system is the envy of the world. It's what sets our democracy apart, that we're under the rule of law. And if you undermine that system of justice, then you're undermining our democracy. And it's a human system, so there's going to be flaws in it that you've got to correct and adjust. And so mistakes are made. And I don't like the way the Justice Department has handled the Hillary Clinton case. I think there's been errors that they have made in their investigations. That was found in the Durham report. But let's address this by reform. And that's why I put out the reform proposal to reduce the jurisdiction of the FBI, to make them more accountable, more focused in their missions and their national security responsibilities. So let's reform it. Let's make it accountable. And that's the approach we should take. As a party, it's about the rule of law and supporting our system of justice.
Well, traditionally for Republicans, it was about law and order, but the top three Republican frontrunners are all using this term